DC here. Hi, guys and gals. Hope you're well. It is Sunday afternoon, and just finished a little walk. It was cold this morning, and we had a lot of fog, but now it's cleared up, so it's looking pretty good. But yeah, I mean, you can tell it's autumn, and we just changed into winter time. I think that's about a week ahead of North America. But over here in Europe, those that change. Actually, I think most people change. I mean, most countries, change in Europe, as far as I remember. In North America, let me see, North America, meaning Canada and the United States, they do. I know that most parts of Mexico do not. I think my Spanish teacher was telling me that a few provinces, or whatever they're called over there, next to the United States change, but that's partly for commercial reasons, he's saying. I know Argentina doesn't, but I don't really know actually how it is. When we were in the Ivory Coast in Africa, they did not change. I was told that. I really wouldn't mind actually. I'd probably enjoy if we stayed on what we would call the summertime and just didn't bother. But yeah, anyway, I read in the newspaper, as every year in the last, I don't know how many years, oh yeah, the governments are looking into it. They're realizing that there's no real reason to do that. But now, since COVID and since everything else, it's not a priority anymore. So we'll just keep on doing what we did. It reminds me of so many things, that are meant to be temporary. Like over here, it was taxes on certain tax on what was it on petrol, I believe, that was supposed to be for a period only for building the roads and things like that. There's different taxes here that when they came out, they were supposed to be in a temporary that became an infinite period. Anyway, and I know it's the same in different parts of the world. Have you ever seen something that really that's being taxed and then comes back? Not very often. Unless it's I don't know, maybe an electoral promise or something that somebody will do, and then as soon as they can, they'll put it back to where it was. Whatever. Anyway, there's something like that. Yeah. I was listening before I was listening to two podcasts in Spanish, and the last one was people were talking about if you could build or have, your ideal home, like where would it be, what would it be like, and so on. So it's amusing because there was like a couple. Well, they're not actually a couple, but it was a man and a woman who were talking, and you get like the different things that one kind of wants and what doesn't want, and so on. And it's strange because I think with the guy who was talking, he is more of an introvert, and the lady who was talking is more of an extrovert. So they were, had completely different views on open spaces and things like that. It was amusing. Both of them wanted to have a lot of light. In a way, both of them wanted to have as few neighbors as possible, but one wanted to keep it that way, and the other one was as few neighbors as possible so that when I make parties, I won't be having problems with the neighborhood. Things like that. So there was like sometimes same things came out, but different reasons, different consequences, and so on. Yeah, so it is very much the case, isn't it? You have I've known a lot of people, actually quite a few over the years, that have lived, that have basically lived together for financial reasons over here, because it's just so expensive. A lot of the younger people, and even in their 30s or what, is still they live. Basically there'll be 4 or 5 people that'll rent an apartment. Each one has a room or something like that, and they just share. And then you hear pretty quickly, like people go nuts because they're all great friends. They're great friends as long as they don't live together. so much of that happens. Um, I mean, actually, I think there's something to that one really has to say is that when you, for example, a young couple that gets married, that's one of the things you have to get used to. If possible, if not, I'm always going to say if possible, you should really talk about things before, because you're going to have to adapt if you live with somebody else. So like I say, if you're married, there's other things involved, but if you're not, I remember when I was at the university, there was this one guy who actually he was losing his hair pretty prematurely. So whenever he would take a shower, if somebody followed after him and he had not cleaned up, it was like, oh my goodness, pretty gross in a way. Things like that, Yeah, you definitely have to get used to it. I've had people ask me, like, have you ever shared a toothbrush? And I think, no, I haven't. Oh, really? And I think, no, I've never shared a toothbrush. But I've heard things like that before. Things like that, yeah. Yuck. Yeah. Anyway, you see that also. You see that also when you have grown-up children and they don't live at the house anymore, and they are living with a partner. So be it married or living with a partner, and then you go to their place, and you realize that there's certain things that resemble where they were as kids, which is your house, but then there's the new stuff that come, from being with another partner. And then you see how families take on, or different families, create their own habits and so on. Yeah. Anyway, part of living together. Maybe you've had that. If you've gone off to, for example, if you've gone off, like, for example, for a summer camp or retreat or something. I don't know. I got a kind of a cough today. When you go off to a summer camp or something like that, or a winter camp, it doesn't matter really which one, where you're living in a dorm and you're sharing showers and rooms and stuff like that, it quickly happens, where people say, oh my goodness, I didn't expect the person was going to be like that, and so on. Have you had that type of experience regularly or often, or maybe never? But like I say, you really don't think about it until you have to live with someone, or for one way or another. Yeah. When I was at university, in the same type of story, I shared dorms with different people at times. And some guys were really easy. One person was my brother, so I knew what to expect. But other times it was people that I didn't know at first, or thought that I knew. And the most delicate part is when they bring their girlfriends. I mean, if you're living in, like, in a university dorm, this is not a big room. So you've got all of a sudden a girlfriend in there. And there was one guy, I didn't know the girlfriend, so it was okay. So when you were there, when possible, I'd go off. But the other one, actually, the guy's girlfriend, we were in the same class together, and that was a bit weird, actually. Yeah, I mean, you're sleeping and trying to act as if you're not hearing what's going on, things like that, and the next day you're in class with the person. Yeah, that can be a little bit weird. Yeah. Okay, anyway, I've been talking long enough for about nothing. So, tell me what you think about experiences that you've had yourself. Okay, that'll be it. Have a nice Sunday. DC signing off. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.